When I first started looking at nutrition, I was very, very against tracking, and I felt that it was not very intuitive. It was not very natural, if you want to call it that. And I felt like we should just know how to eat. And I feel like we do have those skills. We do have those behaviors down somewhere inside us, but the problem is that we've become disconnected to them. We've been disconnected from our bodies, disconnected from our source, in the sense that the way we evolved to navigate the world has changed, or the navigation hasn't changed, but the world has changed, right? And I think with some people, once they've had some level of success, the question comes up like, when do I stop tracking? Because I'll continue to say, at this point forward, I will continue to say, continue to track. Start with tracking. Get that connection. Become mindful again. I think it's the fastest way to see results, which is the fastest way to maintain motivation, or perhaps even build motivation. And then we worry about learning some stuff later. And this is what I want to talk about now is after you've gotten a good handle of the tracking and you've learned some of the skills around tracking, how do you transition after that? How do you stop, and when do you stop tracking? I think the real question is the tracking distracting you from getting eating skills? For example, are you learning how to eat when you're hungry only? Or are you learning how to not eat when no longer hungry? Unless your goal is to build, you shouldn't be eating unless you're hungry, and you should stop eating as soon as that hunger disappears. Now, some of the eating skills that I want you guys to learn, and you will learn as that transition happens, is stopping when you're full, or at the very least stopping when you're no longer hungry. Slight variance, and look back to the videos about that. I think another important thing is that sitting with the emotions. Sometimes we eat emotionally because of stress or some other emotion, and we eat maybe even joy, like we're trying to keep that feeling going. And instead of sitting there and feeling it, sitting with the emotion, we do something like eat to distract ourselves. Now, tracking in some way helps you to become more logical about that, and you don't eat as often when you're stressed, but you need to learn that skill of sitting with the emotion and eventually making more value-based decisions with your food. Now, sometimes tracking leads to what I consider number eating. You're just chasing numbers with your food. And again, I think there is some value when you're first starting to learn about all that. What's the amount that you should be having? What's your budget? But at some point, you need to transition, right? And sometimes we're starving, we're feeling starved, but we're losing that intuition of when to eat, when not to eat. And I think some level of hunger is important with fat loss specifically, but I think that we have to start to become a little bit more connected, and that's the next step after you are good with tracking. So as you transition away from tracking, you want to start tracking your progress, or your practice, I apologize, instead. Meaning that you're going to set some eating skills goals. Perhaps you're going to do a stomach check-in throughout the day. Am I hungry? What's the rating out of 10 of how hungry I am? Or maybe you're just trying to notice the point where you're feeling full a little bit sooner. Perhaps it's 80% full. So you set these eating skills goals. You practice these eating skills, and then you reflect on them. So it becomes the process of eating. It becomes the skills around eating after you've got a good handle of the physiology around. So I think this is a little bit more of an advanced tactic, but I think it's important to mention that at some point you do want to transition away from tracking, perhaps for multiple reasons, and you want to start getting into more eating skills. And then maybe once in a while you do a little bit of an audit and you go back and track your food again, just to see that you've built the right intuition where it comes to eating.